welcome to the KSC podcast. Guaranteed to last longer than an England batting innings.
It's right, though. It's true.
Yeah. All right, welcome everybody to, I think this is episode 10 of the Kingsgrove Sports podcast. Today we have with me, Charlie. Good morning.
Morning, Stu. How are you today?
Sorry about that
very low blow
opening line.
How sorry are you? You're not
really. No, I'm not sorry at all, to be fair. And Hamish on the end. How are we?
Good.
Excellent.
We made it to 10.
Woohoo! I'm not sure. Are people still listening?
Double figures.
Hopefully. And of course, we have in the corner the man that makes it all work, Nick.
Here I am. Hi, guys. Good morning.
All right, let's get straight into it. We've just finished up the Test summer. Australia has comprehensively beaten Sri Lanka in the 2 Test series. So we're winners. We're winners again. We're winners.
I don't know whether to be happy or to be sad, given that I was born in Sri Lanka.
You'll take the win, won't you?
I will take the win.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, given that I was born in Sri Lanka, I'm still an Australian supporter, given that Australia won.
That's right.
Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong. So, obviously, as I said, we beat them pretty easily. Pretty well, let's be honest.
Well, we're fast becoming an authority on cricket, aren't we? Because all of us got the prediction
that 2-0,
correct.
got that right, which is good. Yeah, which is good. So,
yeah. I feel sorry for the Lankans. It wasn't the Lankans that we've been used to the last 15, I won't say 20, maybe 10 to 15 years. They're sadly weak, I think, unfortunately, at Test level. And there are a few players down and players were dropping.
Yeah. Losing a whole bowling lineup.
Yeah. The question I have is, would it have been interesting for us to have played this Sri Lankan series before the Indian series? Because really what this series did for the Australian players is help them find their confidence again. Stark, the batters, we get to that last test and they're all scoring centuries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wonder whether things would have been different had that series played out beforehand and when we go into the Indian series, a more confident team.
Yeah, I thought we probably should have played it first. A bit like, and that's how sort of England do it. They'll play, I wouldn't like to say like a lead-up test series, but they often sometimes will play like, a couple of test matches against someone first, and then they've got their main...
practice series,
their main
warm-up series. A warm-up test series.
Sort of after that, depending on who they're sort of playing. But, it would have given, especially looking at the first test team we picked for the Indian series, it would have given some of those guys a chance to play, test cricket and maybe, give them some confidence. Obviously, the side's a little bit different that ended the summer to what it began in, but so it could have helped us into the Indian series where we were probably just a little bit short. You would have thought, obviously short of match partners, but short of confidence.
That kind of game can be a good way to give those guys who've got a bit of a question mark over their head a chance. You mentioned England, so Nick can start the counter.
Here we go.
We've done it several times, especially in run-ups to Ashes series. For example, we 2005 played Bangladesh ahead of the Australian series, and you're thinking, well, that's not really the best test going into a team featuring the greats like Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath and all these people. But as it turned out, it gave the selectors a chance to have a look at Ian Bell.
Yep.
Yeah,
and he responded with a couple of hundreds, and then we know what a great career he went on to have.
Well, the other thing is cricket is such a confidence game, isn't it? So you want your players going into a big series with a suitcase full of confidence, and I think a series like that probably does that. Now, whether we look at all of a sudden playing against, I hate to say it, but like the likes of Bangladesh or Zimbabwe. Last time Bangladesh sort of beat us, gave us a bit of a touch-up at home, but bit different story here. But, do we look at that sort of stuff? But then it puts everything out of whack because, you've got your big games at Melbourne and Sydney and all that sort of stuff.
Well, I mean, I think
whether we start earlier.
Well, you just started, obviously started earlier. You start at the beginning of November and you play those 2 test matches and you can lead into the other one. I think coming in next season, I think we might be playing Pakistan and New Zealand, so not necessarily any sort of warm-up tests There'll be 3 tests against both of them, and it'll be a challenge. So how do we think we sort of ended the summer. You sort of mentioned that a couple of blokes got some confidence. Looks like Starkey sort of came back in and he bowled much better in that Test match.
I guess how much do we look into it? Given that Sri Lanka were pretty weak, I'm not taking anything away because personally I'm over the moon to see the Australian players perform the way they did, and especially the emergence of one Curtis Patterson, especially.
I was going to say that.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm almost thankful that he got his opportunity at the time that he did, and that he wasn't sort of tainted by the Big Bash.
Yes.
He didn't. He was one player that didn't come out of the Big Bash, so I think he was actually more ready.
He was ready to go.
And that's another topic in itself, as we know.
I think we could probably take a bit out of it in the fact that we did beat Sri Lanka so comprehensively. If it was, like you said, if you're saying, obviously Sri Lanka they've got their own issues at the moment and they're not playing that well. If it had been a close Test match, if we'd only just won, or we chased down a total, a low total, 8-9 down. If they were close games, then probably we mightn't take as much out of it. But the fact that we beat them so well in both games, you can only play the opposition in front of you, and we played it as well as we could.
At the end of the day, a Test match victory is a Test match victory. And you got two of them there. Yeah. And a Test match century is a Test match century. No one's going to go at the end of Curtis Patterson's hopefully long career and say, well, that Test century he got was against Sri Lanka and they were a weakened team. It doesn't work like that.
In saying that, there were times in this Test series where, well, particularly the first Test, when, for instance, when Curtis was batting against the new pink ball
at night time
on a Brisbane deck at night time, and he had to work as hard as anyone's ever had to work in a Test series to in his first innings. So not taking anything away, but then in the next Test, the bowling lineup changed completely.
I think there's still things to work on, because if you look at it in both Australian innings, Australia were 3 for 15, 3 for 20. The Sri Lankans got it right early on both occasions and had us in trouble. So it means that there's still some weakness in the opening slot and around that number 3 area possibly. Usman came out and scored a good 100 in the second innings.
You'd assume as well though that when the Ashes starts in August that Smith and Warner would be back. Well, but having said that, if for whatever reason they decide that Dave Warner's surplus to requirements and they stick with this opening partnership and this top order that they've got, Steve Smith coming in is obviously a huge boost, but the moving ball in England, they struggled against it in Canberra.
That's true. So if we talk about selections, it's probably the next topic.
It's an interesting one.
One of the things, obviously, the good thing, if you take a good thing out of Smith and Warner being out, is that obviously it's given other guys opportunities. And now if we put those two guys back in, which is all reports, that's what's going to happen. If you listen to what Tim Payne said, it sort of seems like that's pretty much what they're thinking. But who knows? With Warner.
Well, it's a very interesting situation, given that just after India, it was a lay down. It was a lay down Mazet. We need those two back in the team because we're battling a bit. Two Test matches later, it's kind of like, well, what would we do? Obviously, I think from the conversations I've had with a lot of people, Smith straight back in. These aren't my opinions, but they would put Smith back in. Given that there's quite a few players who have scored some runs lately, and I guess the person who honestly had a question mark on him was Khawaja, but then he scored a ton. So how does that dynamic work? Does Warner come straight in, which means that two players have got to step out?
And looking wider afield as well, it's not just Test matches and the Ashes coming out, you've got a World Cup too. Do they both come in? For Dave Warner being not a one-day specialist, but it's obviously a strength in his game.
I think,
And also, just I wanted a side note. We mentioned sledging in different comments a few podcasts ago. The keeper's comment to Khawaja. Did you hear that one?
There was a bit of banter.
Something along the lines of how are you going to feel when you're watching your teammates on TV?
Well, no, he didn't want him to watch his team on TV. He was giving him a pep talk.
It was quite positive.
Yeah, he was giving him a pep talk. Come on, mate, I want you to get some runs. I don't want you to watch this on TV.
And you know what? It worked because Khawaja got 100. I think Dick Weller was quite motivational and inspirational.
Exactly.
What better response to a sledge than to just make the guy shut up? Really?
Well, that's the
answer
point.
was your score.
That's when we do the topic sledging. Sometimes it switches batsmen on.
Yeah,
and it makes them.
You got to be
now.
Anyway.
Is this going to be a part of the selection criteria for a wicketkeeper from here on? Is that they get sat down in a room with a couple of comedians or whatnot? And it's like, how's
some witty one-liners?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I mean, they picked Wade because they wanted, because they needed the mongrel, and then he's not getting in maybe because he's
too mongrel.
Too mongrel.
Too mongrel.
Anyway, so we've got Smith and Warner coming back in. Obviously, you think Travis Head had a great summer. He had
well, I wouldn't call it great.
Well, I mean, he could look.
It finished off.
He finished well, getting 100. But I mean, he scored. At least
when no one scores a century in 8 innings.
Yeah, it's probably
I
not the
don't
best.
think you can say that anyone had a rule.
Sorry, I'll retract that and say he had a good summer.
Yep.
Could have been better.
Yep.
But so he's in. So he's probably batting at 5.
Yep.
You're thinking Smith's at 4. Warner's obviously opening the batting. So there's.
You say obviously. You think it's that nailed on?
Well, from everything that's sort of been said so far in the media, it looks like that these two guys are going to come back in. So, I think, Marcus Harris they were saying he was after the Indian series, he was solid. He looked good. Just didn't quite go on with it. But then he had some issues against Sri Lanka and that moving ball, like you said early on.
Yeah.
Whether it's just like obviously playing 6 tests. This is his first test summer. He just maybe got a bit, he mentally relaxed a fraction and got a little bit of, like a little, I wouldn't say lazy, but, you're just losing concentration a little bit and mentally fatigued, say, and, is he still...
You can't do it.
No, is he still the one that's going to open the batting with Warner, given the fact that Burns has come in and, big 180?
Yeah. Well, here's my thoughts. I think... Harris has still got time up his sleeve, and most test greats have been dropped at some stage. If Warner was to come in, and I still don't think that's a lay down misère, it would be now for Harris, and I would keep Burns because Burns been through that situation, and he's probably come back bigger and better for it. In that, he managed to bat very well and get a big century, and that's what we want.
Yeah,
we want guys not just getting tons, but going on with it.
Yeah,
and that's probably what we need. He's seasoned now; he's a bit older, so that would be how I would lean, and then probably Smith for Labuschagne.
Yep.
Obviously takes that little leg spinning scenario, but Smith bowls a bit of leg spin as well.
He's been bowling.
He originally got picked as a leg spinner, didn't he?
And he's been bowling it in grade cricket when he's been playing early on. He's bowled quite a lot, so it's probably handy that he keeps practicing that. So then you'd probably say Labuschagne is out. That means say Curtis stays at 6 and bats at.
How can you drop him? How can you drop him? He plays for St George.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And nothing to do with 100 he just scored.
And he's from New South Wales. So
exactly. Now, I suppose it's an interesting time to ask the viewers to maybe leave their comments on what they think in regards to this situation.
And how can they do that, you ask? Well,
how can they, Charlie?
What a segue.
What a segue,
What
man.
a segue.
What
They can do that with the hashtag KSC podcast. They can go Facebook at Kingsgrove Sports Centre. They can go Instagram at Kingsgrove Sports. On Twitter, they cannot handle the plural. It's still at Kingsgrove Sport. Or you can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify. We have a YouTube channel. Come and watch us. It's an absolute visual feast.
It really is, yeah. So
no mirrors at your house, obviously.
Not today,
plenty.
mate.
There's plenty of mirrors at television.
I used to like you.
Yeah.
I never did.
What? He never liked. No, doesn't like. Anyway, we'll get into Hamish's self-confidence problems later. So we've got our top 6 sorted. Mm-hmm. Sort of.
Can you?
Tim Payne's obviously going to captain and keep.
We're talking about bringing Warner back in. I'm going to ask this: is there merit in keeping the 2 openers that you got, but shoving one of them down the order?
Possibly. They've spoken obviously that if they want to keep Harris, that Burns could bat at 6.
Yeah, I'm thinking of. I was watching one of the classic cricket matches on Foxtel or whatever the other day, and it had Justin Langer batting at 3 or 4.
Yep.
And he turned out to be one of your better openers.
So he started in the middle order with Australia. So Look, they could be done if they really like Joe, but they also like Harris, and they want to keep Harris in, and they want to put Warner in, and so Warner and Harris open, and then Burns bats down the order. So I think the good thing now, obviously, we've now got options, and they're decent options. We're not just plucking blokes out, hoping they do their best.
It's a better problem to have.
Yeah, I think we've discussed it before. We selectors were trying to find that.
Yeah, it's better to be asking who to pick in terms of quality rather than who to pick in quality.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, who do you leave out? Someone's going to be unlucky to be left out because they could be playing, but they're not. Rather than trying to find, 11 quality blokes.
Are they going to be looking at team dynamics?
That kind of quality.
Possibly.
Nick's shaking his head
I'm
over
just
there.
now picking up on the joke there.
It's better to be picking people in terms of, we got too many good players here.
Yeah, right.
Than picking or wondering who to pick because, who's good enough to play?
Who's good enough to play?
I got it.
Well, I mean, look,
I'm a little slow.
Langer's discussed that, team dynamics and the thing. You got to be a good bloke as well. So that may come into it.
Yeah. I just think who produced the numbers in the last few games. What are the numbers like?
Yeah.
Pick your best team.
We'll see what happens from there.
There's no Test match series for Australia between now and the Ashes, is there?
No, but there is Shield cricket.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Well, so we've got there's 4 Shield games. There's also there'll be an Australia A tour
for the county
running at the same time as the World Cup. So those Test guys will be over playing that. And there's essentially, I wouldn't call it. I mean, it's going to be a fairly big game because Australia A will play Australia in a 4-day game after the World Cup.
Do you know where?
Not sure where it is, but I mean that could come down. There could be there could be obviously a few blokes.
That could be a bit uncomfortable.
Batting again, batting off against each other to try and
Australia
work out
A knocks over Australia.
Yeah, well, that could be
happened before.
Then that might be,
and then Australia A be going, bring on Australia B now. Take them on as well.
That could be, if Australia A beats Australia, then maybe they play the first Ashes Test. Anyway, on to our bowling lineup.
Yep.
Obviously, with Josh Hazlewood being out injured.
Yep.
Gave the chance for Jai Richardson to come in, who did pretty well, I thought. It was okay. Gives us a different sort of option. Probably he bowls a lot different, I think, to the other guys in the team.
Yeah.
Obviously, more of a guy that wants to swing the ball and tries to swing the ball and pitches it up and swings it. So there'll be a choice there about who when Josh is fit.
Yep.
Who plays in that first Test match? They're talking about obviously the first Test match is at Edgbaston.
Yep.
Beautiful ground.
And they're thinking that Richardson will be better suited to the conditions instead of Stark.
Better suited than who? That's the big question.
That's
now,
sort of what they're talking about.
Stark was underwhelming for mine.
Yep.
In this summer.
Yeah.
Really.
Do we look too much into the fact that he just took 10 wickets in a Test match, or is it the opposition's factor still, or did in actual fact he start doing what we're used to him doing?
Well, I thought he bowled
fast and moving the ball a bit more.
I thought he bowled better in this Test match. Like he was off in Brisbane, but he got it.
Did injuries play into that? Was he injured at all?
Oh, look, as a fast bowler, you're always playing with something. I don't think you're 100% fit.
Yeah.
And he probably has an ongoing ankle issue, but he looked like he just bowled better in Canberra on a wicket that's not exactly like it's not bowler friendly. Australia scored 300s in one innings and 4 for the Test match. So it's not like it's generally a flat wicket. It's not a bowler friendly wicket, and he's picked up 10 for 100.
Yep. When I said I was underwhelmed by him, I meant with the summer as a whole. Obviously, in the last game, he's bowled well, he's taken some wickets. Do you think it's was he bowling too short overall?
Possibly. I think he just looked like he was maybe just a bit out of rhythm and maybe trying a bit hard, like trying to get up and swinging it, and just wasn't working.
Shane Warne just giving it to him at every opportunity.
Mercilessly. I don't know. I'm not sure what Shane's issue is with
I think
Mitch, but he's always on his case. He's always on his back.
It's his sole role now to try and motivate him, pump him up
by bagging,
because it worked once.
By bagging him.
It worked once.
It worked,
look, it's also a situation where, again, we expect it more with our batters, that sometimes they go through these slumps, and it's a confidence thing more so than just about anything at times. And he might have just been in one of those type of situations. And now that he's got some wickets under his belt again, everything just clicks back in and you feel natural at the crease
You
again.
yeah.
And he probably just can't wait to get to England now and have a crack at those guys.
I'm thinking perhaps the one day is coming at a good time for him.
Possibly. There was a report this morning that he may not be going to India because he's got a soft tissue injury.
To India.
Yeah, so we got there's a one-day tour coming to India, so he may not be going to that. I'm not sure if it's where it is, his hamstring or whatever, but
Okay.
I heard that this morning. So that may not be the worst thing either, because it would give him a chance to freshen up a little bit as well. He's played a lot of cricket. Sometimes, obviously as a fast bowler, you need to have a bit of a break to try and, especially coming up, because obviously then he goes into the World Cup and then he'll go into the Ashes series. So you want to make sure he's fresh. Do we think that Pat Cummins is
I
maybe
think so.
not only the best bowler but the best player currently in the Australian cricket team?
Well, I think the fact that he's moved up to second in the bowling rankings, I think that pretty much says it all at this stage. And he was by far the standout with the ball, and also did such a great job at times against a bowling attack that was penetrating against the top order.
Yeah.
So I think he's earned his right to probably be called the leader of the attack. I'm still a bit confused at times as to why he doesn't take the new ball.
I was going to ask there, do you think he should be opening the bowling? I mean, he always seems to be bowling first
it
change.
could be one of these. It could be a situation where it might be his choice. I mean, so, well, Pat, you're taking wickets and stuff. You want the new ball, and you might be saying, you know what, I don't mind coming in after about 12 or 14 overs or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And there are some bowlers who like to move the ball around and don't mind just one side being
a little rougher.
It's hard to say, but
I thought he would have opened the ball if Hazlewood wasn't.
Yeah, especially when you've got a newbie coming in.
Yeah,
but so that sort of leads me to almost believe that perhaps it's his choice. Because it almost seems ludicrous that he wouldn't open the bowling in a situation like that. So, don't know.
Previously, I would have said that Josh Hazlewood in English conditions would have been the danger man. I think Pat Cummins is the one to look out for.
I don't think Josh Hazlewood is that bowler. I think Josh Hazlewood is the guy that bowls, and quite often wickets will fall at the other end.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean. I think his place in the team is maybe perhaps a little bit different in that he's maybe not the spearhead, but he plays a very important part in regards to that bowling lineup.
Well, Stark and Hazlewood have both played over in the UK before in an Ashes series, so they've got that experience. Cummins, I don't believe, has.
No, I don't think. No,
he would have been injured.
I think
he's been over
last time. He's been over there, but I think
he's been over there several times. I remember name dropping, sitting down at one of the training sessions, and he came down and sat next to me and said, "Where are you from?" And, I've spent time over there. He spent time in Devon and Cornwall as well. And
did you give him your autograph?
I did, yeah. I told him that Warner's just in there. But no, I genuinely think just the way that he bowls, and he's got the pace to frighten people if he really wants to. He generally gets it in the right area.
Yeah.
With a moving ball in England, regardless of whether it's his first series or not, I think he's going to be.
I think it'll be fine.
More so than Stark and Hazlewood.
He's proved to be a world-class bowler, so I don't think there's going to be any issues there.
Look, I just think when Hazlewood's fit, you just go in with that same attack.
Yeah.
You'd like to think that the English players probably fear that attack a little bit more than any other attack just at this stage. And then, it's not like a 1 or 2 test series.
No, there's
you see what's happening and how it's all going.
I don't think they're keen on Kemar Roach just quietly at the moment.
No. So we actually, if we just sort of,
I don't think they're keen on. I don't think they're keen on cricket at the moment. But anyway,
we touched on that a little bit. Well, it's hard when you're in the Caribbean. All you want to do is go to the beach and just lie around the pool,
hang out.
So they just needed to get the test match over in 3 days, so that they get more time, by the pool, at the bar, at the beach.
So
relaxing.
Now, was that a shock to you as an English supporter? Because I guess in reverse to the situation we're in now, I guess there's a bit of a problem going into an Ashes series when your team's just been bombed by the West Indies.
So many. I spend time after we produce these, like, combing for a wonderful little screenshot of you guys for the YouTube thumbnail, and I've got so many great Charlie faces to choose from this podcast. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you
you asked me if I'm surprised by it. I would be if it hadn't happened before in an Ashes year in the West Indies. 2009, I remember watching it on TV thinking, what the hell are we doing? We just got bowled out for 51.
Yep.
And it with a team containing the likes of Strauss, Flintoff, Peterson, Bell, Pryor. You got bowled out for 51.
I thought they
by Suleiman Ben.
I thought they actually overachieved a little bit in that innings, but anyway.
Yeah, well, you're right. They probably did.
Do you have something against off spinners that don't turn it? Because Ross and Chase got 8 for.
Well, as someone that's looking like they're going to have to take up off spin that doesn't turn. No, I don't have anything against them. And you also remember I play at a club with Simon Fairley.
That's true.
Anyway, no, I wasn't surprised.
Yep.
It's England. It's same old England. We pull defeats from the jaws of victory so often it's not funny. Sometimes we just refuse to show up.
Is that just Is it just a thing about the Caribbean that you're just struggling to win in the Caribbean? You've been
we won last time there.
Well, you've been to Sri Lanka. I thought you've only won it
once in the last
40 years.
Well, 2004 we definitely won there because we won 3-0 out of 4 tests, and then in the fourth Brian Lara smashed 400 against us. Yeah, not out.
Because I don't think you must have drawn it in 2009, perhaps.
Well, 2009 we lost 1-0 because then after they beat us in that first test for bowling us out for 51, they then prepared absolute roads. Had one at the Viv Richards Stadium where they had to cancel the test after 3 balls or something because the sand was coming up. And then they prepared sections of the M4 to bat on and put 700.
That makes me think of a good non-cricketer question, though. You mentioned like England's ability to play in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Is there something distinct about Caribbean wickets? Because I hear you guys talk a lot about differences in how different wickets play in different parts of the world, and it made me curious to know if the Caribbean has
the Caribbean used to have a reputation as being fast and bouncy and a bit like the Wacker in Perth used to have. It's fast, it's bouncy, it's difficult to deal with, and the West Indian bowlers are 6'12" and bowl it
fast and bouncy.
Fast and bouncy.
Yeah. Nasty, fast and short.
Was it the wickets that were fast and bouncy, or was it the bowlers that were fast and bouncy?
These days, apparently, the wickets don't tend to have that pace and bounce. The people that play cricket for West Indies now tend to be shorter because the taller people in the Caribbean apparently are trying to go over to America and make their way in basketball.
Sure, okay.
So they don't have those stocks of tall, fast bowlers like they used to. In terms of England's ability to play there, well, England's ability to play the fast, short stuff has been crap for years. Whether that's I don't think we've won in Perth in something like 30 years or something like that.
No.
But the Caribbean, look, we've had the wood over the West Indies with the exception of the 2009 series and this series for years. Many years. I think we beat
playing them in England, then they're generally not going to win. But
we haven't lost them in England in God knows how long.
So do you think, obviously, England are now a very good white ball team? They've worked very hard on that. Yeah. Is there is that too much of a focus for England? Is that muddying batsmen's thoughts as they say going into a Test match? We're in a World Cup year. Is it too much focus on being very attacking? And
it could be if there was a big crossover of the people playing the white ball game into the Test match.
Yeah.
Owen Morgan doesn't play Test matches. Jason Roy, I don't think has played any Test matches for England. Yeah. I'm struggling to think of names now.
Yeah, but you still got you guys like Root and
you still got Root and Bairstow
and Stokes and
as well.
Butler.
It's a very different opening combination now. You're taking Alistair Cook out of the equation, and you need to get good starts.
Yeah, they want to be positive. Joe Root's whole thing is go out and be positive, and it's translated to go out and be airy fairy and don't stick around. I don't know what the answer is. There just seems to be a revolving door of players when it comes to the England Test team. Someone comes in for a couple of tests and comes out.
Certainly at the opening position, they've struggled to find 2 consistent openers.
Well, they're going to have a real problem in the next few years if they don't find replacements for Broad and Anderson. Yeah. So it's not just the batting.
Well, that's it. Well, now
I'm a big advocate, and I have been for a few years, of 2 guys I used to play against over in England. You got Craig Overton and Jamie Overton, the twin brothers from Somerset. Craig played in the Ashes series over here last time out. Yeah, and was unlucky with injuries. His brother Jamie's quicker.
Right.
How old are they?
What would they be now? They'd probably be 25, 26 maybe. Jamie Overton's been on the fringes of the England team setup for the one-day squad before. I don't know that he's actually played a game yet. Craig, obviously, we've seen in the test matches, and he held his own.
Yeah.
And they're that...
Ooh. We've had a little blackout.
Ooh.
Just a minor one.
That's really good for the listeners.
Yep.
Yeah.
The viewers might have seen that. But Craig and Jamie are those kind of characters. They like to get stuck in. They're that British bulldog kind of spirit. And we saw that from Craig Overton in the Ashes, and that he did dig in. There was a few times I think he was top scorer with the bat, which for someone in their first series in Australia against Cummins, Stark, Hazlewood, it's not a
line. Yeah,
and him. He's not the goat.
Can't forget the goat. Come on, mate.
He's not the goat.
He's not bad though.
He's not bad.
Stop it. He's not the goat. He's great. Don't get me wrong.
He'll probably clean you blokes up, but anyway.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I think the Overtons... I mean, if Jamie gets himself fit, I think he's had problems with injuries before. I'd love to see him in the setup. But England have got to start looking who's going to replace Broad and Anderson.
Mm.
And that's, over 1,000 international wickets between them.
So
that's going to be a big hole to fill.
Especially if they both go together.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd hope they wouldn't.
Or you might have to stagger it. They might have to...
Well, they didn't even pick Broad for the first game.
No.
They went in with Sam Curran, who I like.
And
I like Tom Curran
they went
well.
They went in with two spinners. Obviously went in with Rashid.
Yeah.
I think he only bowled like 7 overs in the test match or something.
That's right, yeah. Sam Curran I really like, and he's going to be a very good bowler in England. Abroad...
maybe not.
The subcontinent, I think he'd struggle.
Yeah.
The West Indies, I don't think the ball moved anywhere near as much as he hoped it would. So he was a little bit less effective there. Tom Curran, his brother, who also played in the Ashes series here last time, I think he's got something about him. He's got a bit of pace. He's got a bit of, mongrel, as you guys say.
They are South African, so they will play then, obviously.
Well, yeah, but if we look in the lineup of 600 and odd England players, how many of them have originated from South Africa?
A lot,
yeah.
So, well, look, it looks like it could be a very interesting Ashes series then.
There's a lot of frustration in my voice.
Is it too early? We can do this now and a little bit closer to the actual series.
You want to make a prediction, Hamish?
Make some predictions? Well, let's start with Charlie. What are you thinking at this stage?
Well,
your predictions might change a lot in the space.
And I'm sure they will. Yeah. And I think my gut feeling at the moment is still that England are going to win the series. But it would be close. England don't do thrashings in test series against Australia. My gut feeling is England, although we'll see how this last test goes against West Indies.
They've obviously had the wood over Australia in England.
Yeah, that's sort of what's...
But the last test series was... in Australia was completely
ridiculous.
One-sided, yeah.
And then now we have a situation where the team that you think would be the favoured team is perhaps not, and a little less confident than they should be, and the team that you would have thought would come out the other side of this test series is probably the more confident team now.
It's sort of a contradiction in I think Australia should be considered favourites, but there's just something that says to me I think that England are going to win the series. If we lose 3-0 to West Indies I'll change my mind.
I think England will be favourites because they're playing at home and their record at home, particularly against Australia. Like, we haven't won an Ocean series in England for some time, so
maybe so. But you've got to look at the squads that are going to be over there.
Yeah, that's true. But so it will be interesting. What do you think? What scoreline are you thinking, Hamish?
Okay, it's early, but 5 test series.
Yeah.
3-1
to Australia.
Yep.
I'll go 2-1 Australia. Could be a draw, a couple of draws, but rain somewhere.
Where are the tests? Do you know where the 5 tests are? Obviously, Edgbaston, Lords,
the Oval is one.
Old Trafford.
I think they might be playing at Old Trafford.
Well, there'll be rain there because it's Manchester.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
And then it's either, or is it Trent Bridge or Headingley or Durham or...
I don't think we're playing
one
at
of
Durham.
them.
Cardiff again?
No. I think we're playing at more the traditional...
I think they should take a test match like to the Isle of Wight or something.
Isle of Wight, just have a crack. See
something different.
Yeah.
Why?
Right, so we finished basically the international part of the
Guernsey
summer.
Jersey.
Guernsey. So as you alluded to before, Hamish, we've got some Shield cricket coming up.
Yep.
We've got, I think there's
Thank
maybe
goodness.
4 rounds left, 4 rounds of the Shield coming up.
Yep.
They'll be using the Jukes ball.
Yep.
Getting ready for the Ashes.
Because I think we need to. I think we need to look into what happens in the remainder of the Shield series to track, these players that are in the spotlight in regards to selections and stuff like that.
Do you see, sort of a left field pick if someone that hasn't been in the squad, not thought of, but comes out and scores, 4 centuries in these last Shield games?
The guy I'm looking at is Pukowski.
Yeah.
And, because obviously he was added into the test squad. Everyone was expecting him to play the first test against Sri Lanka, and then Curtis out of nowhere scored the 2 tons in the Cricket Australia 11 game and earned his spot.
Yep.
And did what needed to be done to keep his spot.
Yeah.
But what if this bloke comes, because obviously he is well and truly in the radar.
Yeah.
What happens if he scores some big tons?
Then he's
obviously
got to come back in.
There was a bit of outrage. There's actually a bit of outrage that he didn't play. I thought,
we touched on this, didn't we?
I think that was the right decision.
I think it was the right decision. He's still very new, very young. He's got plenty of time. Let him hone his craft at Shield cricket and score more runs. I think I'd love to see us go back to that system.
Let him get more experience. Get more experience, so he's got more. He's got more knowledge to deal with some. If he's whatever situation he finds himself in, you need to be able to have gone through that.
What's he like in the one-day format?
I don't think he.
I think at this stage he should be just concentrating on batting long periods of time, honing his craft at that level. There's a situation with Curtis Patterson. People were calling for him a few years ago.
Yeah.
And rightly or wrongly, in my opinion, rightly, he got his chance now. He's a little bit older, and he's in a situation where he's probably mentally and physically able to grab it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we're guilty of trying to blood these guys a little bit too early. They're not quite ready for test level because they haven't had the opportunity to hone their craft at first class level. I'd like to see our players play a lot more Shield cricket and succeed at that level before they get the opportunity.
I guess hopefully now, like if we can get a fairly stable test team. That maybe then some of these other guys will be able to play more Shield cricket. The guys on the fringes play more Shield cricket, get more experience, so that if they do have to step up, they've got that experience. Rather than sort of putting him in after 8 games and picking them on potential and hope they perform and don't have to learn as much at test level.
Yeah, exactly. So in short, I have absolutely no problems with that situation. In fact, that now he has to go back and he knows that there's an opportunity there and a very good chance that he'll be taken to England. But for him, it'll be about development.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for not stepping up too soon.
Yes.
And this goes into the conversation that I had with Hamish the other day with regards to Shires cricket versus grade cricket and making that jump too soon. But we'll cross that later on, I'm sure.
I think Shield probably sort of talk about it now in terms of the development of our players and how it is in terms of the how do we see I guess what you call the pathway now, grade cricket, Shires cricket. How does that? How do you think we're going in terms of getting players, creating first class players to begin with, to then go on to be international cricketers?
It's an interesting situation because now things could start to change. Obviously, Greg Chappell is going to be standing down as a selector, and he's been heavily involved in regards to the system, I guess, and a lot of it has been about pathways and maybe choosing these players quite early and making sure they're in that pathway, and then to, I guess, justify the system, they're getting pushed into opportunities, maybe sometimes unfairly, you could say, because there are players that have been scoring runs at first grade level and Shield level who are then sort of getting ignored for these younger pathway players. Does the system start to change a little bit now and we go back to a system of just score a ton of runs at the level that you're playing and then expect to go to the next level? And to me, that's where it's at, because if there's an understanding that you have to be in a pathway in order to make it, then how can you expect players to stay in the game when they feel, what's the point of me giving up my whole Saturday playing first grade when I'm probably no chance of going to the next level because I wasn't in a particular pathway.
So if you're 21, 22, 25, it's like and you weren't in a pathway, and you don't think you're going to get picked for a second into second 11. Yeah, you think, do I bother playing?
All of a sudden, you feel like you literally hit a brick wall.
Yeah,
and there's no way around it.
If they still think that there's that opportunity available, that look, if I can perform, if I do have a great season or couple of seasons, and then I can get into second 11, and who knows? Yeah. You think more people will stay and will play?
The question I think a lot of first grade players have now is, if I go and have a 800 or 900 run season and knock out 4 or 5 centuries, am I going to be disregarded for some young bloke who's a gun, but he's barely scored a century or 2 in first grade, but he gets to jump over the wall.
He's got the potential. He's been in the system.
That's kind of my gripe at the moment, is that I definitely prefer the old-fashioned system, but I think it's also detrimental to the lower levels of cricket, such as grade cricket and stuff like that, when all of a sudden people think, well, there's just no future.
Yeah. Well, there's obviously advantages and disadvantages to the Pathways program. One thing I think it does, which is terrible, it takes value away from performing. It takes value away from scoring the runs and wickets, like you say, because if you're not in that program, then you don't stand as good a chance as someone who is. The examples, because there are so many of them that I was thinking of with this particular topic with Shires and grade, is that when I worked at Westside, I met so many young, 15, 16, 17-year-old cricketers who are playing, let's say, second or third grade Shires.
Yeah.
They're like, I've got to get to grade. Next year I want to get to grade. Next year I want to get to grade. I want to play grade. Okay, but what have you done in Shires so far?
Yeah.
What have you done? What have you done to deserve to be playing grade cricket? If you go there and you get picked and you improve, fair enough. You go for your trials, you get graded. But there are so many grade clubs out there, if you like, who have got an association with a Shires club. They say, right, well, we're not going to pick you in our grade side, so we'll send you to play Shires cricket. And then they get disillusioned.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, I don't know half the people at this club that you're sending me to. This is not where I really want to be.
Yep.
I'm not putting in the full effort, really, to play for this club because it doesn't mean as much to me as that grade club. And the other thing is performances. Yeah. So if you haven't given some performances in second or first grade Shires that are of note, what makes you think you're going to play first and second grade?
That's right.
Having said that, you're not going to play first and second grade unless you're in the grade setup.
True.
Now there's one particular young lad I'm thinking of at the moment. I won't name him. He's got so much potential, it's not funny. He's a great bowler. He's got ability with the bat as well.
Yeah.
He's 16, but he hasn't shown that at a Shires level yet. And he trains so hard and he works so hard, but he's hell-bent. He hates Shires cricket. He's hell-bent on playing grade cricket. He's read the grade cricketer books, and Shires cricket is where cricket comes to die and stuff like that. That's the sort of attitude that you get from a lot of people. He's so desperate to get to grade. I'm thinking, right, well, hang on. You're 16, nearly 17. 1 more or 2 more seasons in Shires, playing first grade Shires, getting a bit more match awareness, experience. Your body's still growing. You're still learning what you are as a cricketer. That's got to be more beneficial to you than going to a grade club and then saying, well, you can go and play 5th grade for a little while we have a look at you.
Well, possibly. Look, I mean, it all works. It just, it depends on. I guess sometimes it depends on what club you're at, and sometimes look, playing either first or second grade Shires cricket, or in 4th or 5th grade cricket. As long as first thing you do is you got to be playing. Yeah, you need to be playing somewhere.
Yeah,
and then wherever you are, you need to perform. I'm thinking, maybe like you get the situation where some of these kids that are in the pathway programs possibly think that they don't maybe have to perform as much as maybe some of the other guys, because
I don't think it's that. I think if you play cricket, individually as a person,
obviously you want to, you
want to do the best you can do.
You want to perform, but is the pathway program, being an average cricketer and being nowhere near a pathway program, are they in the pathway programs? Are they sort of told, like, you still need to perform. You're the ones that need to be getting
obviously
taking the runs and taking the
pathway.
runs and the wickets because you're in these pathway programs. Yeah. We're giving you all the advantages. You get all this coaching, and then
no, I don't think it comes out. I think the pathway programs are fantastic in that they're trying to take very good young cricketers with a lot of potential and talent to that next level. They're trying to teach them as much as they can, but I just think that from there it shouldn't be cut and dried whether, when there's an option of taking a couple of kids to the next level, if one of those kids hasn't been, because he was a late bloomer or developer, he hasn't gone through the academy squads and stuff like that, that he should be held back.
Yes.
If his performances are good at that level, you get the opportunity. I think the pathway program is fantastic, but it's from there it's the selection criteria that probably needs to be looked at. We need to give these kid opportunities to train and get coached by former first class cricketers and great first grade cricketers, and that's who Cricket New South Wales have got running these programs. They're very experienced, quality coaches. Our young cricketers need to learn from people like that, but it shouldn't be cut and dried who goes to the next level.
Goes forward. So do you think the pathway programs are producing top quality cricketers?
Well, they are. I mean, you look at let's say who's come into the New South Wales team through the pathway. Who do we think maybe got a little bit of a push? It's easy to say that Sanger. The Edwards. They are quality cricketers. There is no denying that. But are we perhaps ripping them off in their development by not allowing them to hone their craft at first grade level for a couple of extra seasons? Get out there. And if you are going to be that good to play for New South Wales, knock out 2 or 3 800-run seasons.
Play first grade.
Now, a lot of people
live a little bit of life and get that.
A lot of people will disagree and say, well, if they're going to make it anyway, just get them in there earlier. But like I said, it paints a bad picture.
From my opinion, first class cricket is not a developing ground. So you need guys that have been performing at first grade level, dominating that. Second 11, getting into first class cricket, and then dominating that. It's not. You can maybe have you played a couple of young players obviously to get some experience in there, but I don't. I mean the Sheffield Shield is not a development format.
Well, I realise I may contradict my own point here by what I'm about to say. What I said earlier is that perhaps playing a slightly what you perceive to be a lower standard of cricket for a couple of years is better for your development. But at the same time, you need that experience of playing the high level of cricket. And the example I look at is James Anderson, who, when he was 20 years old and first coming into the England setup in 2002, people saying he's not ready for Test cricket yet. He's only played a year of first-class cricket. He's not ready. Well, he's not going to learn how to play Test cricket without playing Test cricket.
That's
look at him now. He is the leading.
In saying that, England went through a lot of heartache. And through a period where James Anderson, I thought, who is this bloke? He never takes anywhere. He had to battle, and he eventually got there. But at the same time, and the modern world we live in, it just gets harder and harder for a nation to justify that when they're losing Test matches, and we've just experienced that in Australia.
In a way, that makes his achievements even better in that he is now the leading wicket taker of all time when it comes to pace bowlers. Or seam bowlers, however you want to define it. And if you look at his career between 2002 when he made his debut and probably 2007-8 when he started actually playing regularly for England, that's a 5-year gap where he's in and out of the Test team. And
so I think you can obviously, you can do that with a few players. You can't do it with all the players. So you need to. There's a balance between that.
It's got to be done on a case-by-case basis.
Now, where this ties in with what you were asking about, Shires as opposed to grade. Now, if you are 16, and most savvy parents know this and they study what's going on in cricket, if you're 16 and potentially you're not playing third grade cricket or even higher, then maybe where are you headed? And that's why a lot of these young guys don't now want to spend those 1 or 2 years in Shires, because they know that by a particular age they have to be playing a particular standard to have any chance of going to some of those next levels.
So is that the criteria like you're talking about? Is that what you need to be in the pathway program? You need to be playing you need to be playing grade cricket by the age of 16 and like third grade to go ahead. Whereas so maybe some guys at 16 aren't ready, aren't quite there, but then by the time they get to 20,
yep,
they've all of a sudden it's just worked somehow. I don't know. They've either got away and got some coaching, or it's just clicked for them, and then from 20 onwards, bang. But they haven't been in the pathways program. They haven't been in an academy.
Yeah.
So like you said,
I think a lot of people are worried that if they're not playing first grade cricket by the time they're 18,
yeah,
and not getting picked in the New South Wales under-19s team, that maybe there's no future.
Well, this goes on to maybe a different question.
Isn't that what's been created over the last 10 or so
possibly,
years?
But yeah, it goes back to the other question: is that can't you just play because you like playing cricket?
Well, yeah,
can't you just have that?
I totally agree with you. Why?
Okay, not everybody can be a professional cricketer.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a kid, that's what you want to do. You want to play cricket for Australia, but not everybody can do it. But you still love the game, so how about you just play for the sake of playing cricket, and you get out there with 11 blokes and you have some fun? And
well, I don't know about you guys, but my motivation for playing cricket when I was in my teens was to see how far it could take me.
Yeah,
and realistically, I never thought I would play for England or anything like that. If I had the head on my shoulders I have now, as opposed to the one I had then, I probably could have played minor counties or possibly got in. My goal was always to maybe play for Somerset one day. Whether I'd make it or not, I don't know. Some would argue I never had the talent, and that's probably true. What it's clear that I never had was the mental capacity to do that.
Yep.
You can sit here and say, I want to play cricket for England, or I want to play cricket for Australia, or I want to play for New South Wales, or I want to play for Somerset.
Yeah.
That's all well and good saying it. Where the mental side of it comes in is what you do in order to achieve it. And if I look back at when I was that age and what I could have done in order to achieve it, practice more, train more, work on my fitness. I was never as big as I am now. I was probably weighing about 75, 80 kilos.
Yeah.
That's the time when I should have been, right, if this is my goal, I'm going to pursue it. But I had too many goals. I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be a TV presenter. I wanted to be a wildlife photographer. Too many things. If you're going to make it in cricket, it's got to be your sole focus.
Is there too much focus on that? Like, is there too much focus? Is there too much focus on if you're not going to make it?
Well,
then there's no point.
That's why a lot of sports people are ending up with depression issues.
Yeah, well, that's the flip side of it.
Because if they don't make it, then all of a sudden it's, have I failed?
That's the flip side of it, is that in order to get the enjoyment out of cricket, obviously you've got to play well and succeed in this, that and the other. But if you don't have a well-rounded personal life, you don't have other things on. I started playing much, much better cricket when I met the girl who's now my wife.
Yep.
And that sounds stupid because meeting someone outside of cricket has absolutely nothing to do with what you do on the cricket field. But it just gave you that settled, balanced life, which meant you go out to play cricket and think, right, well, if I miss this ball, it's not the end of the world. Whereas if you're hell-bent, right, I've got to be a cricketer, I can't play and miss.
Yeah.
I can't get an edge on this ball and get out because I'm not going to make it as a cricketer. Whereas it suddenly, it all becomes, the bigger picture becomes clear. And I think that if you force youngsters, too early on in their cricket careers to focus solely on it.
That's the balancing act to get
it's
right.
a tough one.
I sometimes question whether some of the cricketers that we coach here at Kingsgrove Cricket Academy actually really love and enjoy the game. I feel like sometimes it's just a given that they've got a talent for the game.
Yeah.
And that's where part of their future lies, and then they get pushed in that direction by coaches and parents and whatnot. And then sometimes I look at them and say, is this kid actually in love with the game? And I question it sometimes. Whereas with other kids,
you could tell.
There's no question.
No.
They just love the game. But, I think it's, level of parenting. And a lot of our Australian cricketers wouldn't be where they are now if it wasn't for the parenting that they got. The parenting aspect of it is very important. But I would urge any parent out there who has a talented child is just to make sure, first and foremost, that they are not losing their passion and love of the game. And it's a bit cliche, but it's fair income. It's the reality.
Well, because if you don't enjoy it, like if you don't love to play it, then it becomes a chore to play, and you won't become a great player if you don't love playing.
And that's why sometimes we kind of end up with the blinkers on.
Yeah.
You know, what is the reason? Why are we in love with the game? Why do we want to progress? Why do we want to play Australia? Now, you ask any kid that comes in here at the age of 8 to 10 or 12, it's because they go to the SCG and they fall in love with the game and the atmosphere and the crowd noise and they hero worship the players. But sometimes when you look at a 14 or a 15-year-old, just doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like I have to do this because this is going to be my means of a living.
Yeah.
But cricket is I guess it is a job now, but it was meant to be a game, a sport.
Yes.
Yeah. Fine. At the end of the day, the reason that we play, I mean, all three of us are at the stage in our careers, we know we're not going to play for our states or our countries. We go and play on a Saturday.
What, really? What?
Well, I'm
dude,
not.
Dude.
What?
In a few short years, I qualify for over 50s. So
Okay, sorry. All right. Okay.
He could make it.
Yeah, okay. I will take your point. You can play for your over 70s,
Never
your
say-
over 40s,
Never
whatever.
say never.
Never say never. in
Never
this
say
age,
never.
dude.
Never say
All right.
never.
Okay.
Harry Solomon's
Harry
Over
Solomon's.
70s,
Australian
Australian,
over
over
70s
70s.
team.
Yeah.
Wow, I had that in stereo then.
And you know what his major skill was in making that team? He turned 70.
Yep. That's all you got to do.
And he's still living and breathing. He's had about 9 operations to get on the
he's like a
field.
bionic man.
He's got,
it's
surprised now.
He's currently he's a few operations away from being the $6 million man. He's about 4.5
He's 4.5 million at the moment. Yeah.
What percent original is he?
Well,
somehow,
two new knees, a hip,
somehow
two
100%.
shoulders.
Still,
Yeah,
somehow 100%.
He's always a genuine article.
Yeah.
What I was getting at is that the reason that we play is now purely for enjoyment.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can wane. Now, we've had a few conversations in recent weeks where
It's
enjoyment
not,
of the
it's
game
not
is,
as been enjoyable.
It's not been
as
enjoyable. Whether that's results or other factors is irrelevant. So at the end of the day, we play cricket because we enjoy it. That's got to be the main reason for playing at this stage. And for the youngsters who want to make it in the game, yes, it's got to be your sole focus. You've got to put a lot of energy into it. You've still got to enjoy it.
But you got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think as we wrap this up, I think that's probably the takeaway message from this. Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy cricket.
Definitely.
Just make that your primary goal, just to go out and enjoy it. Because I think if
Well,
you have that thought first, then you're probably going to play better.
I think we know that if you're enjoying your cricket, you'll train better.
Yeah.
And your performances on the field will be better. But I think it's very important to make sure you're in a good setup, in a good club, in a good team, with good captains and stuff like that, because that also brings better performance and enjoyment out of you.
Yep. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of good performances on weekend cricket, like
we probably should we bring
Charlie's tries to be very humble about it. We're not going to let the podcast end without a nod.
We
to
do.
Charlie's.
Yes, we should congratulate.
Tell us what you did,
young Charlie here.
Tell us what you did.
I don't want to.
We're
not blowing your trumpet.
We'll bring it up.
Charlie brought up a ton.
A ton.
Charlie scored more runs than his entire English cricket team.
in one innings.
Yeah.
First grade century for Macquarie Uni. So well done, Charlie.
Thank you very much.
Maiden first grade century.
First one in first grade. I got a couple in second grade and one in third grade, but first one in first grade.
Well done, mate. Great achievement.
Thank you very much.
And you enjoyed it, didn't you?
I did a lot. I got chirped for it as well.
You got chirped for it.
Yeah, second innings, I got chirped.
How good is that first beer after a century?
Oh yeah. Oh,
I'm
still dreaming of it.
I'm still trying to work it out.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
One day, Stu.
One day.
Alrighty. Hashtag KSC Podcast. Facebook at Kingsgrove Sports Centre. Instagram at Kingsgrove Sports. Twitter Kingsgrove Sport. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, kscpodcast.com. And Stu, you can take us out.
We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.